Hey everyone, Solon here from Wynn. On today's video, we'll be talking about the free 6-week template to help you get back onto track. It's the Return to Training program. It's 6 weeks and it's designed to help anybody that hasn't been training for at least a month, that has been training in the past, to act as a bridge between not training and training. The goal of the program is not to help build up muscle mass or to increase your 1 rep max strength. It's really just to get you as close to you were back when you stopped training, whether that be a month ago or 6 months ago. A couple of premises here is that you start to see some declines in muscle mass and declines in strength at around that 2 to 4 week mark, depending on what study you look at and how active you were during your break. Check out this video where I talk about how to make the most of an extended time off, but basically stay as active as possible and dial in a couple of things in your life so that when you do start training again, you'll be bridging that gap, making that jump as smooth as possible. So I like to think of the program as like an on-ramp to the freeway. If we put side streets right onto the freeway, you're going to get a lot of accidents and you probably won't get on the freeway at all. The point of that little stretch of road between the side street and a highway is to give you enough room to get back up to speed. So you'll notice the program does look really easy, and it should be. The first 4 weeks of the program shouldn't really be that difficult for you if you've been training in the past. The basic bird's eye view of it, it's a 6-week program broken into 3 2-week phases. The first 2 weeks are going to be really easy, and they should be. You should be walking out of the gym with more energy than you walked into the gym, and they should really only take you 20 to 30 minutes. The 3rd and 4th weeks are going to act a bit more of that transition phase where we're ramping up the RPEs, ramping up some weights, and then the final 2 weeks of the program is where we can really start to have some fun and push those weights up and exit the gym a little bit sorer and more tired than when we walked into it. One thing to note is I wouldn't recommend tracking any of these programs, because again, the goal of the program isn't to progress, it's to get us back to where we were before. So ideally at the end of those 6 weeks, you'll be somewhere in that 70 to 85% of where you were back when you left the gym. And then that first training phase back is gonna really dial you back into getting that 100% back up to speed. You'll notice that the program is set up to be a bit more hypertrophy biased. A couple of reasons for this. First off is that more hypertrophy focus means more volume, which obviously means we're performing more reps, and more reps in the tank coming off of a break allows us to just practice those movements a little bit more. We really just want to get more practice under the belt to regrain those movement patterns and refamiliarize the body with that style of movement. I don't think a lot of us are just performing low bar back squats in our day-to-day life outside of the gym for any particular reason. So we really want to ingrain those movement patterns back. It is like riding a bike, they're going to feel extremely familiar, but again, what we want to do is fine-tune those movements to be more efficient and more effective, so that when we do start loading up those weights, it is where we left off again. And the second reason for that is, my opinion is that you should lead back up to making your first training phase when you come back a bit more hypertrophy focused rather than strength focused. So this is a nice on-ramp to having those higher reps and higher volumes as being your first real training phase. The reason for that is muscle mass does start to atrophy before strength gains start to decline, and it's not that big of a difference. But given the choice between the two, I would pick hypertrophy over strength. But because the differences won't be that big, you can do whichever one you choose to. We're doing weekly undulating periodization for both the sets and the reps, as well as frequency over the course of the week. Now, we're not trying to run marathons, so this isn't helping you get super fit to run marathons or even run 5 miles. All it is there is to help augment strength training. That's the only point of including cardio training in this program and all the other programs we'll be releasing, is to just make sure that you're meeting that minimum requirement to help give positive benefits to the strength training. Now, to help with load management, we'll be using RPE. I'll be releasing a video that we deep dive into rate of perceived exertion coming up soon. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on those videos. But we are using RPE to help regulate loads over the course of the week. We're not sure what your 1 rep max is right now, nor do we really want to find out in a test, because it's not going to be helpful for us in any way. So we're going to use RPE to gauge what weight we should be using for that day, for that training session, for that exercise. not really that big of a concern because performance doesn't matter for these 6 weeks. Getting back, re-establishing that habit, refreshing the body, re-exposing the body to training stimulus is going to be the most important part of this program. So really focus on your mental game and really use this time to focus on the mind-muscle connection and dialing in technical execution of those lifts. So when the weights get heavier and the training sessions get more intense, you're back to where you were before, and maybe even slightly better, because now we have that refreshed. We have 6 weeks to focus on things that aren't just pushing out heavy weights. So what I'll do now is go over to some voiceovers where I walk you through in a bit more detail the structure of the program. So here we have the first week of the program, 3 days a week plus 1 GPP session. Like before, you can either do the GPP on a separate day or just plug it in after one of these days. And then each day should really just be a target session of RPE 6, nothing too stressful. Like I said before, you should really be walking out of the gym with more energy than you walk into it with. That's how light these sessions should be. Each session is going to be the same. We have 3 sets by 15 reps at RPE 6. You're looking at that 30-second break at max. I mean, really, you could probably get away with 15 to 30 seconds here. Super simple, just focusing on those compound movements. First day is our squats. Then second day is either going to be standing overhead press or bench press, whichever one you prefer. And then wrapping up that third day with the deadlifts. Super simple movements. We're really looking to retrain and get familiar again with these movement patterns. And it doesn't really matter which variety you do. Pick whichever version of the squat you like. So here we have the second week of the program. Keeping those training days to 3 days a week. We're adding in 1 extra GPP session. Again, target session RPE is going to be 6. So really light here. First day is going to be squats and then pull-ups. You'll notice here that we're still doing the same 3 by 15 reps, but we are increasing that RPE for each of the work sets from RPE 6 in week 1 to RPE 7 in this week. We have pull-ups here, 4 sets and wrap at RPE 6. So that is, as many reps as possible, stopping at RPE 6 during those 4 sets. So hypothetically, if you could do 10 pull-ups for each set as a RPE 10, then 6 pull-ups is going to be each of those sets. Day 2 is going to be bench press followed by the barbell row. Day 3 is going to be deadlift and the overhead press. Now with these movements, if your equipment allows, you could superset them just to shorten down those training sessions and to augment some of that GPP training. Otherwise, they're fine to just do one after the other in plain workout fashion. First GPP session is going to be 20 minutes at steady state at RPE 7, followed by two sets of 15 reps of bicep curls and tricep presses. The second GPP session is going to be more of a HIIT style with 10 minutes of interval training, 10-second sprint, 50-second rest period, followed by 6 minutes of AMRAP ab movements, whatever ab movements you would like to do. Again, with those curls and tricep presses, you can do whatever movements your equipment allows, whether it be dumbbell curls, barbell curls, cable push downs, dumbbell overhead presses, things like that. And again, you can plug those into whatever day you would like. It doesn't really matter. Moving on to week 3, here's where we start to increase the frequency of the training. So we're doing 4 days a week of strength training, and we're dropping down that 1 GPP session. Target sessions each week should be RPE 7. So we'll see the set rep scheme for this week is going to be slightly different. We're going 3 sets by 12 reps at RPE 7, and you may have to increase those rest periods from 30 seconds to 60-second maximum, but ideally no longer than 60 seconds. First day is going to be that squat and then a dumbbell overhead press. Next day 2 is going to be bench press and Romanian deadlifts. Day 3 is going to be overhead press and front squat. And day 4 is going to be deadlifts and incline bench press. Like before, feel free to superset these movements if your equipment allows. Otherwise, use them as normal. And the GPP session this week is just going to be 30 minutes of steady state at RPE 7. So here we have week 4. We're doing 4 days a week again, and then we're increasing those GPP sessions to 2, keeping that RPE for that session at 7. Set rep structure for this week is going to be different again. Now we're dropping those weight reps down, and we're doing 3 sets by 10 reps at RPE 8. So now we're really starting to get into that higher level, higher intensities, slightly lower reps. So hopefully we can drive up a little bit more weight than we did in the 3rd week. Again, we're sticking with that 30 to 60-second rest just to keep these workouts short, and we're not pushing at limits here, so we really don't need 5-minute breaks in between each set. So it's going to be pretty much similar to week 3 movement-wise. Day 1, squats and dumbbell overhead press. Day 2, bench press, Romanian deadlifts. Day 3, overhead press with a front squat. And day 4, it's going to be deadlift, incline, bench press. Again, feel free to modify these movements as you see fit or as your preferences and goals require, and just stick into that movement pattern. So for day 1, you're doing some sort of squat pattern, followed by some sort of shoulder movement or overhead press accessory movement, and we're increasing GPP this week. The steady state is going to be 40 minutes, followed by 3 sets of 15 reps of bicep curls and tricep presses. And then the second day of GPP is going to be 15-minute interval training. Again, 10-second sprint and 50 seconds off. And then now we're doing 8 minutes of AMRAP ab movements. Now moving on to week 5, the third and final phase of the program. Now we're really going to start pushing our limits and seeing what we're capable of. We're really trying to get to the tail end of the program, so we're trying to push what we're able to do. So we still have, again, that 4 days a week with 2 GPP sessions. Target sessions for this, target RPEs for these sessions is going to be 8. And then the structure is going to be slightly different for these last 2 weeks. We're going to have each day is going to be structured so that you have 1 main compound movement for the day, followed by 2 accessory movements that hopefully you can superset, or hopefully I picked equipment that you're able to superset no matter what your setup is. So the set rep structure as well is going to be similar across each movement style. So here for the main movements, it's 3 sets by 12 reps at RPE 8, again with that 30 to 60 second rest. And then for the superset set rep structure, it's going to be 2 sets by 15 reps at RPE 8, keeping with that 30 to 60 second rest. So day 1's just going to be squats as our main movement. Then we're going to superset dumbbell Arnie presses and barbell rows. Day 2 is going to be bench press as our main movement. Supersetted that with Romanian deadlifts and pull-ups. Day 3, main movement is going to be overhead press. Then you're following that up with a superset of front squats and reverse dumbbell flies. And finally, day 4 is going to be deadlift as our main movement. And then we're supersetting that with incline bench press and dumbbell lateral raises. GPP this week's going to be pretty easy. 40 minutes of steady state cardio at RPE 7. And then we're going to have 3 sets by 12 reps of bicep curls and tricep presses. And then the second GPP session is going to be very similar to the first day of previous week. 15-minute interval training, 10-second sprint, 50 seconds off, followed by 8-minute AMRAP of ab movements. And here we are, we've reached the final week of the program, week 6. Here's where we can really start to have some fun. Same structure, 4 days a week, 2 GPP sessions. That's going to be ideally where you want to be at. But we're going to hit some RPE 9s for those session RPEs. The movements are going to be exactly the same as week 5. All we're doing is varying the set rep structure. So now we're actually getting into some funner rep ranges where you can start to increase those weights that you're using. So we're doing 4 sets by 8 reps for all the main movements. And then for the superset accessory movements, we're doing 3 sets by 15 reps at RPE 8. So with those RPE ratings for the main movements, pick 2 that you can push to an RPE 9. And the way to pick those 2 is which ones you've been advancing with most successfully. So if your squats have been like feeling really great and the weight's been going up faster than expected, push that to an RPE 9. And if, say, for example, the overhead press has been struggling, you're still trying to figure out how to get everything kind of dialed in, the weights aren't increasing week by week that you would have expected, keep that in RPE 8. So we really want to push forward with what we're advancing really well in, and then just hold the reins with what we haven't been progressing well too well. So as you can see, the program isn't that complex, or is it that difficult? It really shouldn't be. It should be acting as that on-ramp. We're not trying to break speed records. We're just trying to get back up to speed to get us back on path to get us back to where we were when we stopped training. I'll leave links below to check out the program. You can download the PDF from the Wynn Strength blog. That way you can print it out or look at it on your phone or in the gym. We don't include an Excel just because, again, I don't recommend tracking any of the progress you're making here because it's going to be irrelevant data. It's not going to really help you out that much because these are going to be all weights you've done before in the past. So why bother recording them? Focus on enjoying the workouts and dialing in those technical executions of the lift. Hopefully this helps you out. get you back on path. Stay tuned. In the next couple of months, we'll be releasing the next phases that we would recommend to do after this return to training program, the return to hypertrophy, followed by the return to strength training programs. If you get to the end of the 6 weeks and you're looking for something else to do, or you don't quite feel like you're back to where you should be, I would recommend repeating weeks 5 and 6, or for another at least once or twice more, depending on how much time you need to get to feel like you're back up to speed with when you can start a new training program. But if you feel great, just hop into that new training program. I would recommend just after the 6 weeks, just go straight into that next training phase you want to do. And then after that first phase, then take a deload week off, because again, this wasn't that stressful. You don't need a deload week after this 6 week of training, because you shouldn't need a deload yet. This has been Selwyn from Wynn Strength, and remember, a better life through strength.